friends, and welcome. My name is Dr. Heather Carden, and you are here live on Ask Dr. Heather. Here on Ask Dr. Heather, what happens is you ask questions about common health issues, maybe about exercise, our food, or diet, anything that you may be wondering about what's happening or confused about in the local media. And what I do is I do my very best to help you clarify or actually help answer what's happening or clarify those questions that you may have so that you can better understand and make those healthy choices for yourself. So I'm coming to you live from Overland Park, Kansas. Let us know where you're joining us from. And today I did try to actually help lead that question. I know we still are talking about macros. So again, let me know where you're joining us from. If you caught our live the other day, know that we are actually helping solve over the next couple weeks, helping you solve your questions about what your perfect macros are, if there is a word perfect, macros are for your body. So hopefully you're still tracking your macros, but I do have to say I have had an influx of questions about gallbladder. So let's think about that. What just happened? Holidays, holidays, holidays. So I can say that there's a very small majority of people that are on the ketogenic diet, even though the very top most important search word, I would say most important, top Google hashtag word is intermittent fasting and keto. So would that make sense why people are having a lot of gallbladder attacks? I would say not. I would say it was all the top fatty foods that people are having. So we just had Thanksgiving, we had Christmas, we had New Year's, we've had football games. And so we've had a lot of people having a lot of gallbladder attacks, a lot of tummy aches, a lot of issues going on, gallstones being released. So let's talk about that for a minute. So if you've ever had a gallbladder issue, I can't see everybody here is joining us, but if you've had a gall issue, gallstone, gallbladder, had a colonoscopy, you've had your gallbladder removed, just put down a thumbs up. That will tell me you've had any one of those things ever happen to you. So I would say that keto's only been really big the last 3 years. Even though we've studied it for 100 years, I've been teaching it for well over a couple decades. It's only really been big via the census. Again, we didn't have Facebook 20 years ago. We didn't have Google hashtags and things like that even 15 years ago. So people have been having their gallbladders out for years. I can remember the first couple years I was in practice, people would even complain about still having rib pain years after having their gallbladder out. So it used to be that people had their gallbladders out when they were in their 50s or 60s. And now the common trend is that people are even as young as teens having their gallbladders out. We don't have young children, teenagers on a ketogenic diet. They're not on a low-carb, high-fat diet. What are they doing? They're supersizing foods. It's still that fried foods that's making the issue. So I would say back in the day, back in the 80s, why people were having gallbladder attack, or let's think about what a gallbladder does. There's so many players in digestion. Your body actually can live quite fine without your gallbladder when you look at that. And when you start to think about your gallbladder, although it is important, it is not the only player when it comes to digestion. Your body actually can live quite fine without it. And if you're a person who's living without your gallbladder, you might say, I don't feel very good since it's been taken out, but humans actually can live without a gallbladder. They're surgically removed each and every day. I didn't look out the number of stats. I tried to find those stats, but the liver makes enough of the bile itself to help digest your foods. It can triggle it. Your liver can actually keep storage of the bile itself. It can actually trickle it throughout your digestive process all day long. It doesn't have to store it because that's what the gallbladder does. It actually stores bile. So in the 80s, when we were on the low-fat diet, what happened is that people actually got gallstones back then because we weren't eating any fat on a low-fat diet. So the gallbladder would just sit there holding the bile. What happens after the bile would sit there for a long time is it would kind of just get kind of clogged up, and then would get gallstones because it was never getting released. We were never eating fat foods, and so the gallstone would sit in that gallbladder. I didn't draw a picture of a gallbladder. I should have. That would have been really good. It would sit there in your little gallbladder. It's kind of like a little funnel-shaped thing, and it usually gets squeezed out. So as you eat fats, it kind of forces it to squeeze it out and squeeze it out. So actually, when you're eating healthy fats in your body, it's a good thing. Cholecystinin is a hormone that's released that tells the gallbladder to release the bile out to say, hey, release that out and help digest those healthy fats. It also triggers back to the brain to say, hey, that actually turns off some of the hunger hormones. But on a low fat, no fat diet, that bile just sits in the gallbladder and it can go rancid. Think of it like a sump pump. If you've ever lived on a farm, I have, or even here in the city, a sump pump that needs to actually have the water come up and pump it back out and come up and pump it back out. If the sump pump sits there, it is never rising or emptied or pumped. It gets rancid, there gets scum on the top. That's what happens on a low, no fat diet as well. That bile just sits in the gallbladder. It does nothing. And then those gallstones can get formed. And then when you go and you binge on a high fat food or high fat meal, then it gets all freaked out and doesn't know what to do, and it starts squeezing, and that's when all that pain and stuff happens. And then you can't have a gallbladder attack because it doesn't know what to do because it hasn't been used in so long. So that's sometimes why people can have gallbladder attacks. But the amazing thing is when we start to think about it, because a lot of questions I got is, I started on a ketogenic diet and I got a gallbladder attack, or I started on a low carb high fat diet and I got a gallbladder attack, or I drank exogenous ketones, I didn't change my diet and I had a gallbladder attack. So first of all, I'm going to just jump to this. I'm only going to speak for Prove It because I am a independent promoter for the company of Prove It. I'm also one of their educator specialists. When you turn over the back and you look at this, there's no fat. When you eat fat, or when your body breaks down fat into ketones, like beta hydroxybutyrate, there's no fat in it. So when you look at the back of the package, I know you guys can't see it, there's no fat in there. The end product, beta hydroxybutyrate, is a salt. It's a salt. There's no fat in it. So when your body breaks down fat and uncouples it, like acetoacetate, acetone, beta hydroxybutyrate, there's no fat in it. It's been broken down and the salt is a usable form. So the ketone is a salt. It's not a fat. So, I see your question there, Julie. Let me, I always try to actually get through this and come back to the questions. I have no gallbladder. This is great information. Have been drinking. Oh, thank you, Julie. Thanks for saying that. So I'll explain why Julie's not having problems. So on a low, no fat diet, does that make sense why people have been having gallbladder attacks for years, but my inbox has been full of all these gallbladder questions. Like, I've been drinking Prove It's ketones. All of a sudden I had some stomach issues. So I do want to say I am not your doctor. I'm not here to treat or give any medical advice. I just want to present some real medical information, some anatomical information, real physiology of what's happening inside your body, what the gallbladder is and what it isn't, and what exogenous ketones are and what they are not, and why you probably could not blame the ketones for your gallbladder attack because there's no fat in there. And again, on a low fat diet, that makes sense. People have gallbladder attacks or gallstones being released because if you go on a huge big binge and you go on a big fat binge, then they have to release the bile and it doesn't know what to do. And the same thing once you actually take it out. But let's talk about just a few things here. So again, it's kind of like diabetes. There's a lot of things that help amplify or make you a candidate. So the number one thing that makes you a risk factor for having gallstones is being overweight. Who's the one person who's most likely to go on a diet? Someone who's overweight. And someone who's overweight may go on a low-fat diet, and then they go on a low-fat diet and they're overweight, and then some of that weight has to be dumped through and gone through the whole lymphatic system, the liver system. And so sometimes losing weight too quickly can often, no matter what diet you're on, can actually stimulate sometimes that gallbladder attack. So people are like, oh, I was doing so great, I was exercising, and eating after exercise can often stimulate a gallbladder attack as well. Especially if you're a female, that makes it higher because estrogen is a fat. So cholesterol breaks down into DHEA and breaks down into some other things and breaks down into estrogen. So if you're using estrogenic hormones, estrogenic patches, eating estrogenic foods, even things like dairy or soy, or exercising, eating right after you exercise, that makes you more likely to have a gallstone or have a gallbladder attack. And then again, being obese, having diabetes, having non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, all those things make you more likely to have a gallbladder attack. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense, like who's more likely to have that, because I'm getting the inboxes are just crazy with questions like, am I going to get that because I want to change my diet? So what am I supposed to do? So what you need to do is just do it slow and steady. And the great thing is vegetables are like live enzymes. So when you eat raw or roasted vegetables, we talked about roasted vegetables last week, when you roast them, you break down the fiber enough so that your body can use them, but you still have that high nutrient dense content. So things like cauliflower and broccoli and cabbage, they actually help bind fat and excess hormones and help grab hold of those and help scoot them out. And that way your liver can tell your gallbladder to trickle a little bit of bile to help break down the excess fat that's going ketogene with it. You just don't want to do a high fat fast. That would not be a good option for you to do if you're a candidate for that. So again, when you start looking at logically, could it be the diet? Well, before the ketogenic diet, people have been having gallbladder attacks and gallstones and gallbladder removed. And now why are we seeing it trending in younger children, not 60 years old, then 50s, now 40s, now teenagers? It probably is not the ketogenic diet. However, if you've gone to a ketogenic diet and you're finding yourself having some gallbladder symptoms, then I would say let's stop some of the estrogenic foods, like let's ditch the dairy. Let's use more plant fats like chia. I'm a big person for plant fats, and cut out the processed foods, like I would say like the Spam or the pepperoni, or maybe cut back a little bit on some of the pork rinds, or make sure the pork rinds are just like pork rinds and salt, not all the MSG and not all the colorings that they have in them. Just make sure the food is clean and you're eating lots of vegetables. Again, not the processed foods, the processed meats, like I say, salamis and pepperonis and those kind of things. And you're not doing the keto cookies that come from different companies and all the different type of shakes and things, because some of the protein shakes, the keto protein shakes, I wish it was the store right now because I could show you, they have a lot of high fat with a lot of cholesterol, not cholesterol, but a lot of calories in them, where you're doing some like exogenous ketones. There's no fat. Yours is an energy drink, not meant to be a meal replacement. So lots of vegetables. When you look at what the ketogenic diet was, it was lots of vegetables, lots of healthy meats like fishes. So salmon and trout and sardines and cod and halibut, those healthy things like that. And then again, when you're looking at the common things, like what do you do if your gallbladder, like Julie, like what do you do if the gallbladder has been removed? Then what the suggestions are is that you eat smaller meal amounts. That's the same thing that anybody suggests on any type of diet. And then you want to avoid eating larger meals as soon as you get done fasting. So if you practice, along with your doctor's permission, if you practice fasting, what you want to not do is do that big binge meal, because then your gallbladder has not been producing bile again. But if you don't have a gallbladder, it doesn't, the bile is now being stored in the liver, so you still have it there, but just so the liver gets a heads up, you don't just want to binge after you've done a fast. Or if you've been traveling for a long time and you haven't eaten, then you want to make sure you're doing, again, a proper size, a portion of a meal. And then again, you always want to mix your fat with your fiber so it breaks down synergistically together. And then just don't do a bunch of carbonated beverages when you do fat, because again, it's just a big bulk of a mess for your gallbladder and stomach to try to sort out together. So I think those are the easiest thing to just really help your body separate those out. But if you've been at risk, you know that you're overweight and you need to lose some weight. So overweight or obese, that's based on your percentages. I won't review those with you. You probably know it if that's you. And if you know that you have diabetes, if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, if you're on estrogenic replacement or estrogenic patches, if you've had a history of gallbladder attacks or have gallbladder issues, if you're over the age of 60, I'm sorry, that also makes it a higher rate. If you've had a history of higher cholesterol or you've been on statins and things like that, then, and if you've yo-yoed your weight too fast, too quickly, so someone who said gastric bypass and you lost 60 pounds too quickly, or if you lost 50 pounds too quickly, then you know you need to do some slower fat loss or weight loss control along with your doctor. And then again, just eat smaller meals, eat them further apart so you can get proper digestion. Don't eat right before you go to bed, because there's no reason to eat right before you go to bed, right? You don't need energy to sleep. That's why we always say eat your last meal 4 hours before you go to bed, because you don't just want to eat and then lay on it. It's all stuck in your intestines, and it's really hard for your liver to do stuff because you want gravity to really help break everything down. And then again, there are certain medications that actually inhibit your liver from releasing some of the bile. So there's certain medications that raise your liver enzymes. Check with your pharmacist. I think they're some of the smartest people around. No offense to anybody else, nurses and doctors, everyone's super smart, but pharmacists will know that there's certain medications that inhibit liver function and would say, that might not let it function as well. And again, just rotate through your healthy plant fats and eat a well-rounded whole food diet, which is eating vegetables because they make you chew them, and things that are not in packages like cakes and cookies and pies. And then again, believe it or not, pregnant women, because estrogen is higher, they have a higher chance of having some gallbladder issues. It just has to do with estrogen. People over 60, diabetes, we already talked about that. And I think those are the top ones that we answered. So I think that actually answers most of the questions. My questions are, why is it happening more? I don't know that it's happening. I think it's happening more because we see a larger population of people now, in teenagers and people in their 20s. We're seeing more people having some infertility issues. So more people are using more fertility programs to try to get pregnant. So it's more common in pregnant women. And then just because the word keto has hit the roof when we start talking about that, and we have social media that we're seeing some of that, but it's really not related to the ketogenic diet unless you're using a lot of processed food like the modified Atkins diet. You could say that, but I do not believe it's related to anything at all to prove it's ketones, because there's no fat in them. And we look at their product 143, which is their MCT oil blend, which is a very, very clean one. It's got a blend of MCTs. Most of the MCTs are just C8. There's some that are C8 and C10, but they have a blend of the MCTs at C8, C10, C16, C14, plus a phosphatidylcholine. It is so clean. The liver actually uses that for a very clean type of energy. I haven't seen any studies showing that that has anything to do to clog up or cause any issues. It doesn't even need the bile salts to help break that down. The liver very quickly converts that to ketones for energy. So those are, again, a lot of the questions that I've gotten. If you're eating something, but what I will say this though, sometimes as people shift to a ketogenic diet, they're adding a lot of eggs for some reason. They're doing and eggs are the number one food allergy. You'll hear me say this a lot, the number one food allergy, and people all of a sudden are eating like 10 to 12, 14 eggs a week, or they're eating lots and lots of peanuts or nuts. And sometimes those are hard to break down. Peanuts are on the top 10 food allergy as well. So you want to rotate your nuts or seeds and make sure you chew them very well. You want to rotate all of your proteins as well. So rotation for me is every 4 days. I think that's pretty standard for every physician or every nutritionist or registered dietitian, is every 4 days. So if you have them on Monday, don't have them again until Thursday. If you have broccoli on Monday, don't have it again until Thursday. If you have cauliflower, green beans on Tuesday, don't have them again until Friday. So we have meatloaf Monday, we have chicken on Tuesday, we have pink fish on Wednesday, we have white fish on Friday, we have turkey on Thursday. So we just rotate through those, and that way you're getting the gamut of amino acids, you're getting the gamut of vegetables, you're rotating through your healthy fats. Doesn't cost anymore. Just go to the counter and get 2 of these and 2 of these and 2 of these, or my family get 10 of these and 10 of these and 10 of these. We have 5 people at home, so you just get that many. It doesn't cost you anymore, and just get, when you're talking about vegetables, you get half raw and then you get half frozen, because freezing is nature's way of saying pause to keep all the critters out of it, and that way you can either eat them at room temperature once you thaw them out. But that's a better way to get the rotation of foods through there, which will also keep your whole digestive tract healthy and friendly as you start talking about hydrochloric acid from the stomach, because if you don't have enough hydrochloric acid, that can also affect how your gallbladder gets to break things down. Because remember, the gallbladder again is just holding the bile, which then again secretes it into the small intestine. The small intestine is where we absorb nutrients. So I hope this clears up a lot of questions. People said, could the gallbladder be irritated from the ketogenic diet or a low carb, high fat diet? Actually, a low fat diet too long can actually irritate the gallbladder, as we have found out today. And we know that eating an unclean fried food diet, which is a lot of fried appetizers, eating out all the time, those things they do in a dedicated fryer from the soybean fried oil or canola oil, any of that fried food, that will definitely irritate the gallbladder, because it's always having to work all the time. And then that can actually cause some issues, or it'll cause a solidification of you having some gallstones in there. But eating a diet in whole healthy foods will not generally cause any type of gall issues. Being at your ideal body weight will help reduce that. So what you do is you start to look at, how do I reduce that? Well, we talk about the parameters of what your risk factors are. We talked about diabetes. So how do you avoid type 2 diabetes? You avoid that by eating less sugar and being your ideal weight and exercise. How do you avoid being obese or overweight? Being your ideal weight. So you can see how that goes. So I want to see... so Julie, absolutely. Julie said, eat smaller meals and let them completely digest and make good meal choices. And absolutely, guys, don't eat right after you exercise. I know people say, well, I want to eat while my metabolism's high. That actually just competes with what's happening, because there's more nerves in your gut than your spinal cord. So you're busy exercising. It's trying to really calm down, because after you exercise, you want your heart rate to come back down, your blood pressure to come back down. You want all the blood volume, the lactic acid to come back down. Don't just stuff food in right away. Let it come back down. I know a lot of people, there's a lot of information that you actually want to fast after you exercise, so you can really let your body rest and repair, because every time you work out, you're tearing down your body. So I would recommend that you don't really eat until after you exercise, until your body says you're hungry. Like when your body says, I need to refuel, that's when you would do it. So as always, I hope that you've learned something today. And again, if you've found some information here, please like, comment, and share. And always make sure you can tag somebody in this. This message is always meant to be educational. So please share this with someone that you know. And I love that Ruth is saying she does intermittent fasting and she's on keto, and intermittent fasting is a great way to help your gallbladder as well. We said small meals, keep them apart 4 hours before you go to bed, listen to your body, eat when hungry. I think doing a 24-hour fast, which we're going to implement here on Ask Dr. Heather. I already do a 1-day 24-hour fast a week. I'm just going to actually have you guys join in live with me. So I usually do that on the Thursday because that's my big work day. So I'm going to try to go live and help do that with you guys as well. And then we're going to work on our metabolics tomorrow. I had so many people say, I'm not ready. So hopefully if you're joining us on calculating your macros, that you guys, we said really get 3 or 4 days of your macro calculation. You guys are keeping track of your macros. We'll probably do this around noonish tomorrow after I go to church. So you're keeping track of what your macros are. So where your starting block is, what you're eating, your total carbs, your total fat, your total, I'm sorry, my puppy just walked in, so I'm petting her. I have my bone broth here, so she smells it. It's chicken bone broth. Right, Danny? Do you guys have a dog? We have a dog. We have a German Shepherd. We adopted her a few months ago. She's super sweet. You guys probably see me post pictures of her because my kids are all grown, but she will take a picture for me. Anyway, you're supposed to be keeping track of however it is, your Carb Manager, Noon or Non, or MyFitnessPal, or however you want to keep track of what your total carbs, proteins, and fats are. And then we're going to start moving from there. This is the best way I found to teach it in my clinic. We have to know what your starting point is, and we really need a 3 to 5 day base. So since we just went live on Thursday or Wednesday, I thought we really need to, we said Saturday, but I've got too many people saying I couldn't do it, I couldn't get it started. So tomorrow we're going to go live. Hopefully we have a good base of what your total carbohydrates average have been over the last few days, and fats and calories. You also need to know how tall you are because we're going to get started. You don't have to know your age, but how tall you are and what your average is. And then we're going to start moving forward from there. And we're really going to work on this over the whole next month, and we're going to move forward. So, and if you want to participate in our 1-day fast, then write down that you want to participate in that. Let's just put down 24, the number 24. But thank you again for your question. It was amazing about gallbladder. Hopefully this helped clear up a bunch of questions. Again, like, comment, and share. Invite people to your page. Any of my past videos, whether it's been on PCOS or adrenals or thyroid, all that is found on my YouTube channel, which is 100% free, which is Ask Dr. Heather, just like my page here. And same thing on my blog, which you can download your guide to start your day in the right way. I have an autoimmune friendly, ketogenic, low carb, paleo food list and my favorite recipes. And if it doesn't dump to you, let me know, because I'm having some problems with my MailChimp thing. It's not sending to you. If it doesn't send to you, please just email me directly and let me know. But it's AskDrHeather.net, and that's my blog. There's 1,000 recipes on there. They're all gluten-free, all dairy-free. There's some cooking tutorials, but most of my cooking stuff is on Ask Dr. Heather YouTube. Just go to playlist. I have about 50 videos on fasting and intermittent fasting. We're going to talk more about that in 2020 on really digestive rest and reset, because that's, I think, where I get the most amount of healing for myself and for my patients, and I want to share with you guys. So have a blessed day. I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow. I'll post a time again. I need to see what time I'm going to church, and then we'll post a time and we will get on our macro calculation. See you guys.